Hi everyone, this is Paul here for the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm doing the astrology report for the week commencing the 19th of September, outlining some of the key aspects and transits for the week and giving an overview of what it all means for us. Before I do that, I just want to clarify, as I always do, that the astrology doesn't control our lives. It merely helps us to understand the natural cycles that are unfolding around us. It helps us to understand what lessons are on offer for us to be learning at any given point, and it kind of gives us a perspective as to what is unfolding around us so that we then respond to events rather than react. But ultimately, if we want anything to change in our own lives, we actually have to take responsibility for how our lives are unfolding and to take the necessary actions to incorporate the changes that we need to make. Now, in terms of the aspects this week, I'll start off with the moon as usual in terms of her passage through the signs. We begin with her in Capricorn. So this is a time of putting ideas into action and seeing the ultimate results. It's also about taking personal responsibility for ourselves and how our lives are unfolding. Before on Thursday she moves into Aquarius. So this is a time for observing our relationship with our wider community, the role we play with it, and kind of taking a step back and taking stock of how things are unfolding and how our lives have manifested so far. Before on Saturday she's going to move into Pisces. This brings a theme of kind of meditating, paying close attention to the natural ebb and flow of events, and to try and cultivate that connection with spirit in our day-to-day lives and our interaction with people. Before on Tuesday she moves into Aries, and on that same day we'll have the full moon in Aries, which I'll go into a bit more detail later on, and there will be a separate video on that. But during this week there'll be a significant number of aspects to the Sun, so there's a lot of change, a lot of insights available for us to incorporate. And it's also, with the Sun moving into Libra on Sunday, we're also marking a change of seasons and a change of themes. So to begin with, on the first aspect we will encounter will be on Friday. So there's two aspects here actually. The first is the conjunction between the Sun and Mercury. So one thing we need to be mindful here is that we don't identify with our own thoughts. This is Mercury's behind the Sun here, so this is Mercury's direct conjunction as opposed to the inferior conjunction during a retrograde. But with the Sun and Mercury together, we need to be mindful that we don't identify with our thought patterns. We don't think that we are our thoughts, as it were. So it's learning to find that point where we can detach from the two, so we can pay attention to our thoughts and choose which ones we allow to keep going, so that we then choose our moods and we don't identify with them. And on the same day, the Sun is going to form an exact trine with Juno. The actual aspect itself will last for another week or so, but getting progressively weaker, but it's exact on Friday. And this aspect, it focuses on how do our relationships affect our sense of identity, and it's looking at how do we invest ourselves in relationships. Are we committed in them, or do we have a certain fear of that commitment? Because Juno rules committed relationships and that fundamental need for harmony, equality and justice within our relationships, where both parties are equally honoured and both parties have their own needs met. And obviously this will be a key theme, because Juno is sort of like a ruler of Libra, which the Sun is moving into, so she'll be a key player in some respects over the next few weeks. On Saturday, Mercury moves into Libra, so this brings with it a focus on seeking mental balance. It's developing a wide perception where we see both sides of any given truth, and we seek to become more objective and seek fair outcomes in how we decide things. But for us to achieve fairness and a just outcome in any given situation, we need to be able to see both sides of the equation. So one thing we need to overcome here is any tendency to stick rigidly with one idea and project any other ideas onto other people, or judge other ideas as being wrong because they clash with our own perceptions. And it's instead learning to incorporate different viewpoints, learn to see the truth behind each one, but at the same time avoid indecision. It's learning to still remain decisive, but make sure that all sides of the equation are considered, so that the right outcome is decided upon. And then on Sunday, as I said before, the sun moves into Libra. This particular change is not only change of theme from Virgo, but it's also the change. So we're in the collective half of the zodiac, i.e. Libra through to Pisces. We've dealt with Aries through to Virgo over the past 6 months, and these are the more subjective signs. But Libra is the first sign that we come to where we encounter the opposite of a sign that we've dealt with before, i.e. Aries. And as such, Libra represents the other. It represents the need for balance, of harmony, and it's learning to recognise the fact that everything operates in relationships. No action that we do, no matter how inconsequential, happens in a vacuum. It influences events around us, often in ways that we don't necessarily perceive at the time we commit the action. But Libra brings the fruits of our actions. It brings the end results, if you like. It represents the effects. And with Libra being the scales, this is also a time of collective rebalancing. It could be karmic rebalancing, if you like, but it's paying attention to the fruits of our labours. What are we harvesting now? We took the action 6 months ago in Aries, now we're rendering the results, and this is obviously nicely tied up with the harvest moon on Tuesday, when we have the moon in Aries opposed the sun in Libra. So what we're looking at here is achieving a collective balancing of things. It's recognising how things are interrelated and using the wisdom of that understanding of the interconnectedness of things to guide our actions, so that we respect the karmic laws and we seek to make sure that our actions are guided by love and wisdom rather than egoic impulses. And we're also, Libra is known for peace and harmony, but for this to happen, or true peace to be achieved, we must first cultivate it on the inside. Now, so I'm going to do another video on the sun in Libra, so I won't try not to go into too much detail here, but suffice to say that this is a time for, it's the beginning of shadow work. It's obviously, we have the equinox when the sun first enters Libra, and this is the balancing of light and shadow, and this sets the theme for the rest of Libra. It's having the courage to face and acknowledge our own shadow that's reflected back to us through other people, and recognising that everyone around us is a mirror in one way or another, and seeing what is being mirrored back to us. If we're with someone and that person kind of inspires us and motivates us, then chances are they're reflecting back positive qualities that have gone undeveloped inside us. If someone triggers us and we get that instinctive reaction towards them, then chances are they're reflecting back a part of our own shadow. So it's learning to have that objective mindset of seeing people as mirroring back to us parts of who we are. And it's through the dynamics of relationships that we encounter our shadow, and we learn through accepting it and recognising it as a part of ourselves. We cease to be triggered by other people, and we now move towards true peace, where we balance the opposites within us. We make peace with our own shadow internally, and through achieving that inner peace, that peace can then radiate outwards. But for any true change to take place, we must first create it within, and this is the balance that Libra asks for. It asks that we balance our own shadow, that we accept it and create peace inside us, and through achieving that inner peace and inner harmony, that then radiates outwards and permeates our relationships, so they're no longer necessarily zones of conflict. They become places where we achieve harmony and peace with one another. And it's also through the dynamics of relationships we can unlock synergy. It's recognising that When we work together and we seek a true spirit of harmony where each person grows from the dynamic and each person is giving their own to the dynamic, and through that both parties giving to it, synergy is unlocked, and we recognise that we can achieve much more together than we can as separate individuals. And Libra is also the beginning of understanding that nothing is truly separate, everything is interconnected, everything operates in relationship. Just look at the human body. Each cell is complete unto itself, it's part of a wider network, and with everything working together in relationship, a much greater degree of harmony is achieved. So it's the greater harmony where all the different parts that are whole within themselves work in mutual harmony and mutual benefit. And by creating that harmony within ourselves first, it then allows a greater harmony to unfold through us into the environment. Now, as I said before, we also have the full moon in Aries on Tuesday, which there'll be another video on that. But this is highlighting this essential duality between self and other. But it also encourages us to reflect on what are we harvesting now, and to then look back to when we had the new moon in Aries early in the year and see what did we sow back then, what are we reaping now, do we have the wisdom to recognise the action that led to the result, and can we see where do the actions need to be changed in order to change the result. But it's also reminding us, because with Libra there can be too much of a swing in the opposite direction, where we're so focused on trying to maintain peace and harmony that we lose sight of who we are. It's peace at any cost. The full moon in Aries reminds us that for true peace to emerge, we must remain true to who we are in the process. So it's to thine own self be true, or you must honour oneself and honour one another. And only then can true peace emerge, where each party is being true to who they are, but also honouring the truth of the other person, of respecting the other person, and recognising that their needs and their input is equally valid to our own. And when both sides work in this spirit of mutual honouring, then truly loving dynamics can emerge, where both parties are being honoured and respected, and whilst both parties are remaining true to who they are in the process. There's no maintaining peace at any cost. There's no pretending to be something that we're not in order to avoid conflict. It's recognising that staying true to who we are whilst honouring the truth of the other person is how true harmony is formed within relationships. And on the same day as the full moon, we're going to have a square to Vesta. So this brings out the challenge of Vesta is all about is devotion. It's devotion to oneself and staying true to who we are. But when it's square to the sun, we may struggle to achieve that focus, or things may not be as clear as we want them to be. So it's learning to channel our energies constructively, and it's learning to focus on something that is true to who we are, rather than allowing them to become diffuse and confused. On the same day, we've got a sextile to the North Node in Leo, so this obviously the North Node in Leo is highlighting the need to have the courage to express who we are, have the courage to pursue our own dreams, and it's embracing play, it's embracing our own creativity, and it's honouring that individual spark within us. Because the thing is, if we don't nurture that spark and turn it into a flame, with the heart of the whole doesn't improve. We have this obviously trine to the South Node in Aquarius at the same time, but for the South Node to elevate and for the health of the whole to transform, it requires that we, as each individual, seeks to become the best version of ourselves, to become the healthiest and most authentic self. Because only when we honour and own our own truth and live it out, and seek to encourage other people to do that, that the health of the whole can then start rising up through each person seeking to embody their own truth and to express who they are and be who they are. And finally, on one thing I've skipped over here, we've got an inconjunct or quincunx between Sun and Uranus retrograde on Monday. So this again brings a challenge of incorporating the insights and changes that Uranus is highlighting to us, and recognising the need to transform our understanding or our own values so that they honour who we are, that we develop a sense of worth that's independent of other people's evaluations of us, it's independent of the collective values and independent of money. It's recognising that we have our own inherent worth, but it's born through being true to who we are rather than trying to conform to how other people want us to be. So as you can see, this is a week of significant insights. It's a lot of points where we may feel needs that we have to undergo a fundamental change in our sense of self, and this is obviously particularly strong with the Sun in Libra, because Libra is all about relationships, it's all about the other, and it's achieving a more holistic sense of self through incorporating the insights we gain from other people. But if we want to experience peace and harmony in our relationships, we must first create it on the inside with our relationship with oneself. Because only when we have a healthy relationship with oneself can we have healthy relationships with other people. And this is the fundamental lesson that we're going to need to learn over the next month, so I'll go into more detail in a different video. The more we seek internal harmony and balance within the different aspects of our own nature, then the more easily peace and harmony can unfold in our relationships, because we're no longer projecting our own shadow onto other people, we're owning our own stuff, and that inner peace is no longer subjected to external influence. It becomes a core place that we can turn to whenever things are getting stressful, and we just seek that inner peace and inner balance through overcoming the different dualities within our nature and embracing. Sometimes things are paradoxical and we have to hold them in paradox here, but by learning to hold the two opposing sides of our nature together, we enable the next step of our journey, which is self-transformation. But it requires us to do the work of acknowledging the shadow to begin with if we actually want to transform it. If we continue to pretend we don't have a shadow whilst in the process projecting it all onto other people, we hold our own growth back, and we limit the extent that we can achieve true peace, because we'll always be triggered by the people reflecting back our own stuff to us. If we own our stuff though, we can achieve true peace internally, and then we become beacons of peace for people around us, so we draw them into our peace rather than we be getting drawn into their conflict. But it requires that each and every one of us does the work ourselves, and it accepts whatever insights we gain through our day-to-day interactions, and we learn to see our interaction with other people as opportunities for learning about the self and opportunities to cultivate a greater harmony inside us, so that our relationships no longer become characterised by conflict, they become characterised by peace, harmony and mutual understanding and mutual love. So I hope this useful guide for the week. There's going to be a lot of up and downs here, but if we go with the flow of the natural events and go with the natural flow of the cycle, we can achieve a greater degree of peace within ourselves, and through inner peace we achieve peace with the world around us. So may this week bring you many insights and greater internal peace. Take care, and may you be blessed.